start streaming StarCraft 2. So we're all playing at the same time.
Right, so listeners at
What
home,
could possibly go wrong?
Oh, yeah.
listeners at home, we encourage you to also play a video game while listening to this podcast. None of us are paying any attention to anything that we're...
Hey, I love doing that. Particularly racing games or platformers, anything without any sort of like real dialogue or story
FIFA
progression.
Is a perfect podcast.
Oh yeah, FIFA's plenty good as well.
Yeah.
So to cut to the chase, everyone knows what Halo 4 is. Everyone knows that it's been received critically tremendously well. And this is a massive...
Is this some sort of conspiracy because I included Killzone 2 in the notes to make sure we do not get to my impressions?
Actually, we're at a point in RE5 where one of us has to find a seal, and so I'm sending you to go find the seal while I talk. And I knew that you would not be able to talk, so go off and what you need to do.
Ooh,
so
I've
basically,
got
everyone knows how well Halo 4 has been received. But the thing is, this was a massive...
This way. Yeah, you're going to come and help me.
Because, this could have backfired in a huge way, because Halo is less popular than it has been, mostly due to Call of Duty. And, there's plenty of reasons that former Halo fans could have been excused for leaving because a new studio had taken over. I mean, it's the perfect excuse, right?
Yep.
And so people could have been like, okay, well, Bungie's not making it anymore. That's why Halo sucks. That's why I don't have to pay $60 for it anymore. And so it was a massive risk because, and what has increased the risk for Microsoft is that they're releasing the first one on the 360, and there are 2 additional games to be made on this engine. That to me is the riskiest move that Microsoft had, is that they didn't release this as the launch game for the Xbox 3, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Who is the developer?
343, which is a Microsoft-created company, which consists of like 300 staff, and it's made up of a bunch...
343?
No, they laid them off.
There's 300 people on this team?
Roughly. And they basically consist of a bunch of former Bungie people like Frank O'Connor and things like that.
Is that the largest development? Is that the largest game company? Like in terms of an individual development team?
Well, they'll lay them off as the game finishes, but no, Assassin's Creed has like 700 on it, Yoda. It's like all of Ubisoft is working on Assassin's Creed.
What is this? I can remember 100 being enormous. What is it?
We understand that you've been in some sort of,
I'm dying, by the way.
Sort of,
I'm dying to hear your Deadlight impressions.
Yeah, I'm dying to hear your Deadlight impressions, but well, Fool's just died.
Yeah.
So anyway, the bottom line is this was a huge risk for Microsoft, and it paid off, and I'm happy for them. I'm not excited to pick up the game. I didn't bother to get Reach or ODST. 3 games in a franchise is traditionally...
I'll be right back while you talk about Halo.
But Fools and I were talking about this actually a couple of days ago, Yoda, and that was, 3 to 4 games, if it's not a JRPG for me, I'm kind of done with the franchise by that point. What franchise have you played where you've gone beyond 3 games?
Zelda.
Well, Mario, right? Yeah. Well, the Nintendo screens, Mario Kart, things like that.
Pokemon.
Yeah. Okay. Well, those are Nintendo evergreens. They're kind of like JRPGs.
NHL, EA.
Yeah. Come on, that doesn't count.
I've named 4 already. None of them count.
None of them count. I'm thinking like Killzone, Uncharted, Halo, Beautiful Joe, Katamari.
Uh, well, you.
Suckers.
Well, of course not. If the only ones that qualify are games that suck.
Yoda. No wonder you don't come to our site anymore. So seriously, why have you not been at the site? Are you just that busy?
That's not very fun podcast talk.
All right.
Fair enough. Now, in my brief absence, did you actually talk about the only interesting thing about Halo 4? That being the bizarre timing of its release.
Well, yes, that they're going to release the first game on the 360 and then the subsequent two games using the same engine and assets on the Xbox 3. So
they're basically repeating the same mistake they made with Halo 3.
Yeah, because remember when Halo 3 came out, it looked janky as hell. It still does.
Yeah. It looks so much like Halo 2. It's not a big step up from that. And so the same thing is going to happen with Halo 5 when it comes out on Xbox 3.
Yeah, but hopefully, times have changed and also technological increments have decreased. So hopefully, they'll be able to mitigate that a little bit more. But
the same thing will happen, but we won't care because there's no alternative.
No, the same thing won't happen because they're aware of what is happening, and the changes between the current Xbox and the Xbox 3 are going to be much less than the original Xbox and the Xbox 2.
But that is the same thing that's happening as far as the release is concerned. The difference is they couldn't actually do better. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That enough about Halo 4, for God's sake.
Yes, that is enough, and change the topic because I'm going out for a second.
Okay, well, you still there, Yoda?
Yeah, going out. What happened to Resident Evil?
Presumably some farm-related emergency. So, Deadlight, as I was saying, it's a 2D side-scroller in the vein of cinematic platforms. Other examples are like Oddworld. So, they're basically 2D platformers, but as much focus is put on the presentation and the story and the like, right? As opposed to something like Mario or Rayman, where, sure, the graphics are important or whatever, but they're not trying to create a world or anything, right?
Okay.
It's not like a narrative experience. So with those games, it's also a narrative experience as much as it still needs to be a solid platformer. Now, Deadlight is basically a zombie game, except there's a few twists on the basic zombie theme in that it's set in, I think, Seattle during the 80s. So they're going for an 80s aesthetic, and they've got a couple of 80s references and the like. So it's not just your average video game zombie setting. So it's interesting that way. It's also basically extremely inspired by The Road. The main character is Viggo Mortensen from The Road. I mean, it's blatantly obvious. It's wearing the same outfit, it looks like him. It is him. Let's be honest. No need to beat around the bush there.
Is that the Jack Kerouac novel, The Road?
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Yeah, and by the way, as an aside, the guy is originally from Canada in the game, which I'm sure Yoda can appreciate. He's now going to go off and get it due to patriotism, right?
Oh yeah.
That's why he watched all the Back to the Future movies, and now I've heard that Canadians have an uncanny knack of identifying anyone who is in the popular culture cycle as being who is Canadian and who is not. For example, like John Candy, right? Celine Dion. Who else is famous from Canada? Yoda?
I think those are all...
You want me to name every Canadian?
Yes, go. Go.
Shania Twain, Alanis Morissette, Ty Domi, Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux.
And our very own Yodorico.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a bunch of hockey players, except for Lennox Morissette. Come on, just
Shania Twain. Don't forget Jim Carrey.
What about the arm? Jim Carrey, very good.
What category do you want? Are we looking actors, sports?
Aeronautics, space aeronautics.
Oh, god damn it. Not applicable. NASA's American.
You guys created, from what I understand, you guys created the
the Canadarm. The Canadarm. That's not a person. That's a robotic arm on the space station.
What I love is that I was able to troll you into that so easily. Tell us more about Canadarm.
So anyway.
We've offended him.
Yeah.
I'm offended at your poor quiz. That's bad form. Bad form.
Canadarm is actually very
It's
important.
okay, I just killed him for you, Yoda.
It's the thing
He has
that
been
puts
punished. I think he just walked into the laser himself. I think that was because I moved it.
Anyway.
So, moving on.
I can point out your bullshit at 120 APM, alright?
Alright. Well, any other famous Canadians in the field of,
Jesus Christ.
Okay, we're just comedians. Comedians.
You're
Is Drew
going so
Carey a
well,
comedian?
dude.
Drew Carey's a comedian. He's not Canadian. He's from Ohio.
It's hardly funny then, is he? I mean, Drew Carey, Mariah Carey.
I mean, there's Derek Edwards. He's Canadian.
Is Drew Carey Canadian?
No, he's from
No, I think
Cleveland.
so. That's what I thought.
Clayton Ross. But one of the Careys is from Canada, right?
Jim
Mariah
Carey.
Carey. Jim Carey, right.
I said him already.
Alright, I just want to give him a lot of credit. He made a lot
Pay
of money.
attention.
Alright. Alright, just give us one more
Started off
Canadian.
so well.
Just give us one more. One more Canadian.
One more Canadian. Tim Horton.
Never heard of him. Anyone else?
What? You said one more.
Yeah, but he didn't count because I've never heard of him.
Tim Horton.
How have you not heard of Tim Horton?
I have never
I'm gonna
heard.
keep killing you until you stop talking about Canadians.
Okay. Who is Tim Horton?
The coffee guy.
He's a former hockey player. The most famous Canadian, the coffee donut shop chain that's everywhere. It's called Tim Hortons.
Never heard of it. I've heard of Starbucks. I've heard of Dunkin' Donuts. I've heard of Winchells. I've never heard of Tim Horton. So just give me one more Canadian.
It's probably because you left America too early for it.
Stephen Harper.
Steve Nash?
Stephen Harper.
Never heard of Stephen Harper. Is he the Prime Minister?
Yes.
Yay! Woo! I actually had heard of Stephen Harper. Steve Nash is Canadian, right?
I think so.
The basketball player. And what about that short
Rick
guy?
Nash,
that plays
Rick
for the-
Nash is American.
Matt Stairs is Canadian?
Yeah, baseball player.
Yep. The most successful Canadian baseball player of all time, mostly due to his longevity. So, I
Longevity?
think
He had tons of injuries.
No, but he was in the game for a very long time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not for his staying power, but just his longevity.
So that would be the same power.
About games. Does anyone have anything to say about video games?
Don't think so.
There should be a Tim Hortons video game.
Yeah. But anyway, Deadlight. Just to begin again, I'll just continue from where I was up to. So the problem with it is, though, okay, it's based on this really old school genre. Now, the thing about cinematic platformers is, because they were narrative-based, not as much time could be spent on the level design. So, none of them are well-designed as Mario or Rayman or Donkey Kong or whatever, in terms of straight level design. But so, to still have a fair amount of challenge, what they did is, for example, in Oddworld, they've got lots of mind puzzles, and they were really big on puzzles and stuff like that, and timing puzzles, and really intricate, small, extremely challenging platform sections, which didn't last for long, but were short bursts of really high quality of design and extremely hard to get through. This, of course, being a modern game, one of the main things it tries to do is flow extremely well, which it succeeds in doing. But so that it flows well, there are hardly any moments of really high quality design where you've got a really intricately set up platforming thing where you've got to do everything perfectly and run through something quickly. There's, as far as I can remember, 2 moments where it's like a timed thing, and you've got to run through the area within a certain time before everything collapses, and if you don't, then you're crushed to death. The thing is, because the controls are also very modern, they're extremely floaty and all that responsive, what happens is, first of all, it's hard to do full stop, but not due to the design, due to crappy controls. Secondly, if you do it too well, you get killed. There's this one spot, every time I did it, like the first 3 or 4 times, I was running through, I was beating everything, I was just dying around. I thought, what the fuck? Then I did it deliberately worse than I was capable of doing. And voila, I got through it fine. So, where they actually have to design things... Go on.
That happens from time to time. But before we go any further, please do tell the listeners, what is the platform?
What is the platform? What?
Yeah, what is the platform? On what platform are you playing this?
Oh, PC, the Steam release. Okay. It was released on 360 early, and now it's on PC as well.
And who's the developer?
The developer is Tequila Works.
What are they done before?
Not sure. This might actually be their first game. But anyway. Before you ask me if they're Canadian, I'm going to move on.
No. Is that tequila, like as in Tequila Mockingbird or Tequila Sunrise?
Tequila as in the alcohol.
Okay, so like Tequila Mockingbird. Tequila. You know, that would be an awesome cocktail.
Are you still on the codeine, by the way?
Actually, I am. Because of a back injury,
Yeah, so now this whole podcast has been like...
Right, leave me alone. Leave me alone, I'm a cripple.
Are you listening to some Juicy J in the background there?
No, leave me alone. I'm doing well here. I'm solving all the puzzles
out as well.
Yeah, and who is solving all the puzzles in RE5 incidentally while you yammer on?
The Canadian.
Not the Canadian. No. Unless I'm Canadian, which I'm not.
Are you sure about that? Yoda said you are Canadian, so you must be.
I do have Canadian. I am pleasantly polite and civil, hardworking, diligent, funny, and intelligent. So
and you do seem to have a fondness for beer.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Where do you stand on maple syrup?
Stop. Who was it a second ago that just said, who's solving all the puzzles while Fool stands around doing nothing? Let me just tell you who that was. Someone who just walked into a stationary laser beam and killed himself.
It's because I was grabbing a beer! And also, my real last name, which will not be disclosed in this podcast, is fairly notable in Canada, is it not, Yoda?
I didn't hear anything you just said.
Anyway!
My real last name, which will not be disclosed on this podcast, is also, it's a Canadian name, right? There was a famous Canadian with my last name that we shall not disclose. It's not Mulrooney.
I'm not familiar with who you're trying to refer
From
to.
now on, until we get to the end of Deadlight, we're ignoring his existence.
Tommy
Okay.
Douglas was a Canadian.
All right, let's just keep going. It's the same Aspro Kornikova.
So that's a fine Canadian name. I think there's a famous tennis player who shares that name who is from Canada. I
Let's
believe.
talk about the freaking video games. No one cares about this anymore.
Says Aspro Kornikova. Anyway, so the platforming is really poor quality. You're not really doing anything. There's no skill involved. You're just moving through the levels. The other major problem is there's more. They do include puzzles, but they're all blatantly obvious. So, for example, to get to another section, you might have to shoot out. It's done again. You might have to shoot out a lock or something that's blocking the path, right? The problem is the lock is highlighted, which, first of all, ruins the immersion that you would have in a old cinematic platformer. It couldn't be blatantly obvious like that, right?
That puzzle is in GoldenEye.
Yeah, it's a common puzzle. But anyway.
Without the highlighted block.
Yeah. So that's basically the level of the quality of the puzzle. Now, the other issue is that even though the puzzles are this easy, 50% of the time when you come up to a puzzle, what's going to flash on the screen is, oh, by the way, if you've forgotten, you can manipulate something in this way. So, for example, you're climbing up a ladder, and this basically constitutes a puzzle in the level of puzzle in the game. To get past a blockage on the ladder, you've got to jump to the other side of the ladder, right? So that's a puzzle. Now, you're climbing up, you come to this blockage, and what flashes on the screen? A reminder, hey, guess what? Press this button to move to the other side of the ladder. Which is, oh wait, that's basically just the puzzle solved for you right then and there. So 90% of the puzzles, even though they are the most easy, mind-bogglingly obvious puzzles, the game literally...
What?
He's just killing himself. The game literally tells you how to solve the puzzle. So there's basically no challenge or skill involved except in the combat and avoiding the zombies, which is really janky and poorly done. That it's just annoying when you come up to it.
So what you're describing is every modern puzzle platformer.
That's exactly it. And yet it's a tribute to an old genre that needs old gameplay or cannot work. So, but I mean, the thing is, apart from the voice acting, the writing being absolutely horrible, it is still, an original and fun gameplay idea. So it's still cool. It's still an enjoyable experience. It's just so poorly done. But I still enjoyed it. I mean, I wouldn't say it's terrible overall. It's just a terrible game, but it's a good experience.
I would agree that highlighting the solution to the puzzle makes it like a game for kindergarten kids. And that is stupid and that is dumb. But
can I just point out? No, stop though. That's not even true. I've got a collection of for education puzzle games from the mid to late 90s, and they actually have proper puzzles in them. They don't give you the solution to the puzzle. They are superior games.
It doesn't diminish my point. My point is that any better than the pixel hunting that old adventure games force you to do, where you basically have to click on every pixel just to find the pixel that is going to, let you progress in the game. I mean, they both seem to be fully dumb to me.
No, but the thing is, it's not just pixel hunting in those games. You do also have proper puzzles and things to involve you in the game, even if they're completely retarded, because the issue here is you're not actually involved in the game on any meaningful level. It's like you're playing Dragon's Lair. It's on that sort of level. And I mean, I still enjoy it. It's a perfectly valid experience. To me, it is a step below something like pixel hunting, because pixel hunting, most games that have pixel hunting do still have something to involve you in the game. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it's still something that you're actually doing, even if it is completely and utterly retarded.
Well,
But that's just me.
yeah.
But despite that, I mean, to me, even if you're a fan of the genre of cinematic platformers, the closest thing that you've got to them is stuff like Limbo, which is an infinitely more well-designed game than this. But the thing is, it is pretentious, and it is, modern, indie, cool, edgy type thing. This is an old-school cinematic platformer done pretty terribly within the confines of the genre, but it's in many ways more within the spirit of the genre. It's got, a fantastical setup, unlike something like Limbo. So you might actually enjoy it more if you're a fan of cinematic platformers than you would, say, Limbo. So, despite its problems, if you're a fan of the genre, I recommend it. And I mean, Leo, who loves those games, loved it. And I love those games as well. And despite all of that, I still really, really enjoy playing through it. So that's about it on Deadline. Unless either of you have any questions?
No.
No.
It's on Steam. It's published by
And-
someone who's published anything else before.
I'm not sure. I think the publisher, it's an indie game. So the publisher previously was Microsoft Xbox Live Arcade, and now the publisher is Steam. You see?
Okay, yep.
Yeah. And so the only other thing I've been playing is, and I'll just simply state that I've been playing it just to continue the mythos, and that is, I got back into Killzone 2 because post Killzone HD collection, there's now a lot of people playing it again, so there's no trouble finding games of any type whatsoever, whereas before you could find games, but you couldn't necessarily find what you wanted to play. Now you can do whatever the fuck you want, so that's cool. The interesting thing is, though, the people playing aren't actually noobs. They're all high ranks that have apparently come back due to the release of the game, possibly expecting new people to be around.
So maybe
not on the
people
list,
who are
though,
just
in the
looking
notes
for an
is- What was that?
maybe just people who are looking for an excuse to come back to the game. Actually,
Exactly. Well, I mean, I didn't come back for that reason, but I've stuck around because there are people around. So,
right.
yeah. So I'll finish off my impressions with a bonus thing, simply because I haven't played this recently, but I never did come to a final conclusion on it. That is Hyperdimension Neptunia Mark II, which I finally finished and reviewed. And so the basic pitted summary of the review is, this is, to me, that I've played so far, and I haven't played Xenoblade. This, to me, is the best, most innovative and original JRPG of the generation. Even though it does a lot of things really poorly, and I mean, I gave it like a 7 overall, but it has so many original things that have so much high potential that sure it doesn't live up to, but it does so many really cool things. On top of that, the presentation is top notch. There's not going to be any JRPG this gen, and Xenoblade I know is meant to have fantastic.
I'm just going to cut in for a moment, and too bad you can't see my stream right now because my graphics card's gone a little wonky, and my screen is like black and occasionally blinking, but I can still kind of do things, so I'm like playing a 3v3 blind right now.
And still winning.
I can't tell, but I warped in some units. I didn't hear them die. I can still hear like sound effects too, so I know this game's like going on.
You're playing by ear. Ear and muscle memory.
Oh,
did you hear that, Astro?
I wonder if I can like. Oh man, I can't warp. I can't change my new gates into warp gates because I can't select them or see them. Oh
You're
wait,
playing StarCraft, right?
yeah.
Did they fix the whole unfixing? Like, they broke the game. Did they ever refix it, or?
Hard to say. I kind of haven't been playing in Linux at all anymore because it's not worth it. So
Kind of hard to
Have you
tell
tried
when you
to-
can't see what's happening in a game.
Have you tried the
It's like
new
the problems.
Have you tried the new Steam Linux? It has like something like 30 games that launched this week.
Oh, wow. I was able to chrono boost something with my screen black. I hope I chrono boosted the right thing. Uh-oh. My ally's saying to group up. It's going to be tough.
That's not an answer. That's not an answer to my question.
No, I haven't. I didn't know it was live. I didn't see it live.
Yeah, it's live now.
Uh-oh. There's a big
Linux
blob of
Steam is now
enemies
live.
kind of
About
around,
26.
and I can't see out of my units. Hopefully I can attack move in the general correct direction. This is going to be a fun replay to watch. This is going to be
I think Gabe will be leaving Windows 8 anytime soon because there's only like 28 games for it. So
I wish I hotkeyed my Forge.
Okay. He's done it again.
Well, if I wasn't doing
He just killed himself on a puzzle he's previously solved. This is amazing. Anyway, Hyperdimension Neptunia Mark II. This to me is the best JRPG of this generation. As I said, it does so many new cool things really well, and the presentation is excellent. The characters are great. It's hilarious. It's also, I would say, the best satire in gaming that I've played as well. And go on.
Sorry, I just love that this game that I can't see is still going on.
Yeah. Anyway, so the final thing I was
the
going to say
game
about
that you're playing or our game that we're playing?
Both of them.
Mine, but both, because I'm dying less than you.
Yeah.
Well, my cell phone, my smartphone battery is also dying. All right, well, fools, I'm going to have to leave the game because my smartphone is dying, so I'm going to go to a different room. We'll just leave the game sitting idle and continue the podcast.
I think we're at a checkpoint, so we can just quit and then come back.
All right, then do that.
Yeah. Okay, so while you're doing that, I'm just going to say this anyway. So, basically, all the previously mentioned things, the other thing that I just love about it is, okay, so feminism in games, everyone constantly complaining, oh, there aren't enough female characters, they're all sexualized, blah, blah, blah. This game is a target of a huge backlash, saying it's sexist, all that sort of bullshit. This probably has the best female characters I've come across in any game. And yes, it's full of fan service. Yes, they're being molested by dogus, and it's got all this hilarious crap in it, yet if you genuinely want proper female characters in games, this should be your example of how to do female characters. They are well-rounded characters. This is, of course,
So to
in video
speak.
game terms. They're deep characters. Where is the relevance of the fan service or anything if they're good characters? If your problem with female characters is that their breasts are large or they're wearing skimpy outfits, that is sexism. If you are discounting a character because they're female and they're presented in a certain way, yet they are a perfectly good character, you are being a sexist moron.
Okay, well, basically, this game is empowering the females. They have strong female character archetypes, but for the most part, due to their presentation, the game gets a lot of criticism for portraying or for sexualizing young female characters, which you say is on the part of the viewer, because if a young girl can wear a bikini at the beach, that doesn't mean she's a sexual object. But if you put that into a video game, then all of a sudden she is a sexual object. So just to allay any fears, I mean, this game does not have any content in it which is, objectifying in terms of sexual identity, right? I mean...
How would you define objectifying in terms of sexual identity?
Well, there's no overt depictions of sexual behavior which would be inappropriate, age inappropriate, let's say that.
Here's the thing. This is a Japanese game. What's the age of consent in Japan?
I don't know. 11?
It's 12.
Okay. It's
12.
12? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, God. You know what?
And stop. So if we're going to go into what is sexually appropriate behavior, We're really referring to it in the context of law. We're referring to the context of law and culture. Well, it's irrelevant in the West because it's a Japanese game.
No, but it's released in the West.
But that's for the Western person themselves to decide if they're comfortable playing it or not.